They directly affect absolutely everything that happens on a given play. Even the premier defensive backs can only lock down for so long. The linebackers, penetration or coverage, depends on them so much. Last season, depth issues on the defensive line meant that the Bulldogs were often worn out by the time the fourth quarter rolled around. Playing against pass-happy offenses, their pass rush was caught in a catch-22 with the struggling secondary, with each needing the other to perform better. A team leader in both his example and in his words, senior defensive end Tyler Klutz sees his unit in a different light heading into this season.
I think it's a strength because it needs to be in our defense, and it's got to be the strength, and it's got to send the ball where it needs to go, and it needs to be an unselfish unit that may not get all the praise, but does the right things and lets the secondary make their plays by pressuring the quarterback and getting the ball out quick, and sends the ball to the linebackers in the right gap so they can come through with run-throughs and fill, and that's how our defense is structured, and the D-line has to be the strength.
As for his coach, Pat Hill sees great possibilities from the position because of the depth, but knows they will be challenged this season.
You got to be great run stoppers against Texas A&M, then you got to rush the passer 60 times against Hawaii and New Mexico State, then you got to stop the run against Boise, and then it's back and forth. You got to have guys that can stop the run and run the passer, that's a tough combination. And last year we ran out of gas a little bit in those pass rush games. And so the defensive line, we feel we've got about 8 or 9 kids right now that we've got to develop. We cannot play with 4 or 5 defensive linemen in the types of games we play in now. So the development of these young defensive linemen is going to be a key. The ability to rush the passer, late in the fourth quarter at Hawaii, at New Mexico State, against Nevada, Reno, against those type of teams that can really throw it over and over and over again. You're going to have to keep those guys fresh. So that is going to be a real key area to watch as this team develops in the fall.
The guys developing in the fall, the ends.
We have Ikena Ike that got hurt midway through the spring, a knee, not a major knee injury, but he will be ready to go. He'll be a junior. And then we'll have Jason Roberts, who's another year older from Central High School at defensive end. And we'll also have Chris Lewis from Clovis West High School. That gives us 4 young defensive ends, 3 young ones and Tyler. We're looking for pass rushers, so all 4 of them can rush the passer. Tyler basically is the only one that really has the game credits for it. But Ikena Ike played a lot for us last year as a sophomore.
And the guys on the inside.
Big Jason Shirley, who's back for his final year. But the two guys that have really come on in the spring of the older guys, they'll be juniors, will be Johnny Manga and senior Charles Tolbert. And also 2 young defensive tackles. They'll both be redshirt freshmen. Mark Roberts and Cornell Banks had big springs, big bodies inside. The 6'1", 300-pounders that can play inside, and the real good swing man in there is a young man named Wilson Ramos who can play nose, tackle, or defensive ends. So he's very, very important. Like Ikena Ike, he can play all the positions in the defensive front. And as the year goes on, that becomes really, really important.
Defensive coordinator Dan Brown also looks forward to the possibilities, noting that pure numbers can be effective.
Since I've been here, I think we've got a better core number-wise of guys that we can send in the ball game and keep people fresh for the fourth quarters, and which hopefully, again, transfers into being able to be a little bit more stout in the fourth quarter.
Defensive linemen are a priority in recruiting, and Hill knows that when he does get a defensive line together that can operate for a full game, he, to some degree, has beat the odds.
That's the hardest position to recruit, even in the West Coast, except for maybe SC. There aren't a whole bunch of teams. Cal had a couple last year, but there aren't a whole bunch of teams in the West that have the dominant type pass rushers where you can just win with a 4-man rush and use the same guys to stop the run.
While there is no doubt that simply winning with a 4-man rush is not going to happen, as Hill said, there aren't many places where it does, one thing is absolute. You don't win despite it. These are the dog days of summer.